What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to be sharing 3 trail cam strategies that you can use in the summer to find giant bucks, hone in on their core area, and ultimately get a shot at them in the fall. Now it is summertime, so you might end up arm wrestling a mosquito the size of your Labrador at home just to get the SD cards out of your trail camera, but if there's a 180-inch buck on it, it might be worth it. But before we get into the video, make sure to give it a like and share it with a buddy who you think could use some help finding some summer bucks. Before we get too deep, I did want to share that there's multiple ways to find and locate big bucks in the summer. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and the same thing can be said about finding deer. So the first of the 3 strategies that we use in the summer to locate big bucks is using simple and accessible trail camera location. Here at the Hunter's Advantage, we live by a pretty simple mantra. If we know a buck exists, that's half the battle. And one of the easiest ways to do that is using trail cameras. Jake and I always joke and say that humans need water, food, and little Debbies to make it through a day in the woods. Trail cameras can work 24/7, 365, and they paint a much broader picture than we could without them. One of our favorite places to hang trail cameras in the summer is access routes and water holes. Hanging a trail camera on an access road or a commonly used path. Remember when I said half the battle of killing a specific deer in the fall is knowing that he exists in the summer? That's what we're trying to do with these trail cameras. I don't care if I get his picture at night. In this phase of setting up trail cameras, I like to cast a wide net, which means I like to take trail cameras and put in several different areas on easy to access routes to get the largest swatch of different bucks that I can for the summer. The more bucks that I can see on camera, the easier it's going to be for me to narrow down what buck I want to hunt and narrow down a location to move some other cameras to and get more intel. And remember, the goal of these summer trail camera locations isn't to narrow down the exact 2-acre woodlot that a mature buck is living in. It's to get at least a singular picture of him so that we can take more cameras from other areas that didn't produce and relocate them into a core area of a buck to tighten the noose and eventually get into his core area and kill him. But Jake's going to describe more of that in the funnel method part of this video. Isolated water holes are a great place to get summer pictures of a buck as well. What we try to do in the summer is pick small, isolated ponds that are usually surrounded by bedding cover or timber, a spot where a buck could easily sneak his way up to get a drink of water without fully exposing himself. We've got several really good pictures of mature bucks using that strategy in the summers. This works especially well in places where there's drought conditions, and in Oklahoma where we hunt, we've had those for the last couple years. We've had a lot of timely rains and a really wet spring this year, so I don't expect it to work as well as it has in years past. If you're in an area that is still in a drought, this might be a great strategy for you to try this summer. And a lot of these ponds that I pick are small enough that a singular trail camera could get pictures of pretty much anything that went and got itself a drink there. Now that we've talked about a great trail camera location by putting them on access routes and isolated watering holes, so the goal would be to get more and more detailed intel about these bucks as the summer progresses and we get more into their fall range and habits. As we inch closer to the end of summer, we got to get a better idea of where these big bucks are calling home specifically. And I'm going to kick it over to Jake to tell you guys all about the funnel method that we use with our trail cameras to tighten the noose and narrow down where a big buck is going to be in the fall.
So what we would do is we would start by looking for a place where we can just cast a wide net. And this is just an area where you can scatter a few cameras wherever you think you're going to get the most deer activity. And the cool thing about this is human pressure will be down, so bigger bucks will use these areas more during the summer. So in this example, we have this main road, and a little bit further down, we have what looks like an old 2-track that probably the biologist made. And all we would do is hang cameras every 200 yards or so to help paint the best possible picture for what's in that area. And at this point, we're not trying to form any patterns on deer. We're just simply trying to see what all exists in this area. Then we would just give it about 3 to 5 weeks and then analyze the intel and redistribute. All this means is you would leave the cameras that produced and relocate the ones that didn't. So in this example, we have this county road still and then this old 2-track. Let's say we set out 4 cameras on this 2-track, and then we had another area over here that we set out that kind of looks similar, but they didn't really produce. Well, when we waited that 4 to 5 weeks and checked it, what we would do is we would gather these cameras because they just didn't produce, and then maybe set them out right here, maybe set them out right here if it looks deery. Right now, the bucks are probably bachelored up, and we're just trying to find different areas where we think we could get them just to get more intel. So just kind of paint a picture for y'all. What we just did is we casted a wide net. We found a group of bucks in an area that we kind of want to focus on. And so we took the cameras that didn't produce and reallocated them to this area. So we cast a wide net, top of the funnel, and right now it's just getting ever so slightly smaller because we've honed in on a certain area. Because if this is something you're just starting to get into, you might be wondering, why do I need to relocate all the cameras? Why can't I just sit over this road where I got a lot of good bachelor pics of bucks walking through that area? You know, I get they might distribute after the testosterone hits, but the thing is, if there's 5 big bucks in this group, surely one of them will stick around, right? But next month during the camera pool, you'll kind of understand why this idea will be short-lived. So at this point, it's September, and at least for here in Oklahoma, you have that October 1st opener. So the deer that were on your cameras hitting it nonstop during the early summer, they're probably not going to be using it that much just due to the human pressure. The closer the season gets, the more human pressure gets put on there. It's okay. They didn't vanish off the face of the earth. You're just not going to have pictures on those easy access routes anymore, because more than likely us humans, we're pretty lazy. That's where we're going to walk to get to point A to point B for the most part. The deer are going to stop doing that. You might get a few nocturnal pics, which is all cool, but you also got to run the risk of maybe getting a camera stolen. From our experiences, they just went back either a mile or two, or where we hunt, it would be like a ridge or two, just to get away from that pressure. And this is the perfect example why it's better to start early than late, because at this point, it's late. They're just now throwing out their first set of cameras in September, probably to come out and check them when they hunt in October. And they will likely have less pictures to work with and have a smaller picture of what's actually in the area. So at this point, you should feel like you've really narrowed down on a spot where one of your hit lister bucks are going to be using. And just to emphasize this a little bit, on this one in September, be sure to redistribute the cameras to where you actually think you're going to sling an arrow at a deer. More than likely, the next time you're going to be able to get up there and check cameras will most likely be in October while you're hunting. And again, we're in Oklahoma, so our season starts October 1st. If you're in a place like Kansas where your season opens a little bit earlier in September and you're wanting to implement this strategy, just kind of adjust your timeline accordingly. So you might want to start maybe a month earlier.
Now that Jake's talked about the funnel method and tightening the noose to find that big buck's exact core area and home, let's talk about the last thing that we like to do with our trail cameras in the summer, is letting our cameras soak. I can't express how important this is to us. Summer can be one of the slowest times of the year for deer movement, which means bucks often aren't traveling that much during daylight hours, apart from seeing them in food sources. We've noticed that if you want to catch a big buck on trail camera, especially on public land, you only need one picture of that buck to know that he exists and completely rewrite your entire season. In our experience, we leave them at least 3 weeks. 5 weeks is the sweet spot that I like to shoot for. And you got to think about it this way. The more intel that you can gather, the more pictures that you can get. If your trail camera's in a good location, the higher the odds are that you're going to get a picture of a buck that you want to chase in the fall. A good example of this working for us is a buck we nicknamed the Booner. In 2020, we had a camera on an access road and we got a singular picture of a 162-inch buck on Oklahoma public land that we named the Booner. This was the only trail cam picture that we got, and it instantly caused us to scour the area with trail cameras and try to figure out where this buck was living in his fall range. As we took our cameras from areas that didn't produce and put them back into areas that we thought the Booner could be living, and that was ridges and the edges of clear cuts and those sort of things, we started to get more and more pictures of him. We hunted him hard in October of 2020 as we continued to get many nighttime photos of him, but we did start to get some daytime photos as the season started to change in late October. And eventually in early November of 2020, the buck made a mistake and Jake was able to seal the deal on his biggest buck and truly a Oklahoma public land giant. That was all because we took our cameras, put them on very easy access roads that bucks were using in the summer, got pictures, tightened the noose on the funnel, reallocated the cameras that weren't working very well or getting good photos into an area where we knew a big buck existed, and eventually with some persistence and a little bit of luck, we were able to seal the deal on that buck. The longer you wait, the more intel that you can get and the less human intrusion that you're going to put on a place where a buck calls home. To sum up everything we said in this video, there are really only 3 things that you need to know. The first thing is to find simple and easy access routes to hang your trail cameras. The second thing is to use the funnel method to take the cameras that aren't working and reallocate them in an area where you know a good buck exists, and slowly tightening the noose till you ultimately get an opportunity. And the third thing is to make sure to give your cameras enough time to soak to get the most intel and to limit the human intrusion that you're putting on the place you're hunting. Whether you take these tips and use them or you already got a good way to locate bucks in the summer yourself, I hope everybody watching this video is able to locate a good buck this summer to chase and ultimately shoot this fall. But more than that, I hope all the hunters watching this video can focus on what truly matters, which is having a relationship with Jesus. I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this video are too, but it's very easy to put hunting, fishing, the outdoors above everything else in our life and neglect the things that truly matter. This is our ultimate passion. It's what we enjoy. I literally sit in bed at night thinking about bucks that I'm going to chase 3, 4, 5 months in advance. But no matter how many big bucks you shoot, those ultimately aren't going to satisfy you. But there is one person, one sinless, blameless man who gave his life, spilled his blood for you, and his name is Jesus. And I know a lot of us are focused on getting our name in the Pope and Young book or the Boone and Crockett book, but ultimately the only book that matters is a Lamb's Book of Life. The Bible says in Genesis, "From the dust you came, and to the dust you shall return." And there's a lot more to life than deer hunting. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're notified when we post our next video. We got a bunch of cool podcasts and hunts upcoming from the fall of 2023, and you're not going to want to miss them. But with that, we will catch you guys in the next one.